Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jay and Will Show here live on YouTube and Twitch. I'm Jay,
I'm Will.
and we have a special edition this week.
Holiday
Obviously,
edition.
as a holiday edition, that's perfect actually. As we mentioned before, we won't be on Saturday, obviously enjoying the Christmas holidays. So, first off, I just want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as well. But so what we're going to do today is kind of throw everything in one episode. So we got
Yeah.
our reaction to the Cowboys Giants game will be in this episode. We'll also preview the whole slate of Week 16 games. So your Saturday night, Thursday night game, Saturday night game, Sunday night game with Cowboys, obviously. And we'll put a bow on 2021. So got a lot to talk about. So we'll go ahead and get started, man. We'll start off with the Dallas Cowboys victory over the Giants this past weekend by a score of 21-6. Not a great game, at least from an offensive perspective, and that's kind of been the calling card, I guess, for the past 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So defense did well, obviously causing 4 turnovers. Certainly happy to see those guys coming into their own and being consistent, the consistent part of our team so far. But I'll kick it over to you, Will. Just thoughts about the game and just how you felt about how things went down for us.
So initially, just watching the game, it was what you expected defense getting after them and expected the offense to do more, but beating the drum, beating the dead horse, basically. With the offensive line, they were able to do some more. The run was much better than what it had been in the past. With Connor Williams back in the lineup, he also had a lot fewer penalties than what he had, which was part of the reason why they had took him out the starting lineup. But overall, I think it was a good game. That's what you expected from an NFC East game. Hard fought. Nothing like outlandish as far as blowout or anything like that, but it was in Cowboys' control for the entire thing. Initially, like just looking at it, you would have thought it was like Dallas played terrible because it was only the two score, the 15 points. But Dallas is 3-0 in December, and I think it was Bogging the Boys going to shut them out. So they had put out a thing talking about how yeah, you can say that the offense is struggling, but also once it hits December, Mike McCarthy is conservative on the road, and they've been on the road for these 3 games. So that's why if you look at their scoring totals, they typically it's been a couple games that they or 4 games that they hit over 21 points, which was the Tampa loss, the uh, New England win, New Orleans win, and then there was one other one that they scored over 21. So typically they haven't been scoring over 21 points when it comes to just being on the road. So it's just a thing that McCarthy does, especially once it hits December. Just conserve it up. Go ahead, get the dub. Don't do anything extra. And you know what? They get wins out of it. So I'm okay with it. Defense don't need to be going for 40 burgers as long as you get the win. Defense is showing up. So uh, it can uh, it can look ugly on the offensive side as long as they get the win. And it does seem like at times their $40 million quarterback does decide, you know what, I'm bored with just controlling the game and winning it. Let me go ahead show them that I can still make a play and boom, fumble the ball, throw interceptions or some craziness. But overall, it was Cowboys came out, handled business in New York as is expected. Especially like just looking at how crazy the week went. You had Arizona losing to the Lions. They get stomped out by the Lions because man, and then you have Tampa getting shut out. Mind you, they were getting shut out before the injuries. All right,
Thank
so
you. Thank
they
you for pointing that out.
were getting shut out before the injuries. So it's not just the injuries caused them to get shut out. No, they were getting shut out before the injuries. So,
Correct.
um, and I had called that game. I told you, like, as long as New Orleans was going to keep, for New Orleans to win that game, they had to keep Tampa below 17 points, and
Yeah,
they kept them to
that's what happened.
0.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's the only way they'll be able to do it. Because
right.
and you see the all New Orleans could do was kick field goals. So it just proved my point. Like keep it up under 17 is what was needed. But yeah, so it just shows like with those teams losing the way that they did, it just shows why are you complaining that your team got the dub? Like beautiful or not, a dub is a dub, especially in
Sure.
December, trying to get playoff position. So now Dallas wins with Dallas 3 recent wins. They're sitting at the number 2 spot. So I'm good with that. What you thinking?
So I think you have a great point. First of all, a win is a win, and um, certainly I think some of the elements of what we look at is to some degree nitpicking, right? As far as
Mm,
yeah, we won, but X, Y, and Z.
yeah,
I think the level of concern is that the offense have been struggling since prior to December. Like they were
mm,
struggling in November as well, and I think just the overall consensus is just conservative or not, right?
mm,
Can do, can they just flip the switch like that? Because it's from what obviously going 3-0, you had three road games. You have not played a home game since Thanksgiving, so all
yeah,
your games have been on the road, and you won all three of those games. So there is an element of kudos that should be given, right? Because like you said, they're road games, and maybe there's a difference in how the game plan is on the road as opposed to being at home.
yeah,
But I think there's concern about whether or not when that's over with and we're not playing road games in December, can we get back to what it'll take to beat a Green Bay or a Tampa or potentially a LA or Arizona? As far
yeah,
as do you think, because if you look at the teams we've beaten, not to
mm,
downplay the teams, but the quarterback play has not been elite, obviously, in these
yeah,
past 3 weeks. So when you have to face those elite quarterbacks, can you depend on because what's happening, and correct me if you disagree, to me, I feel like what's happening is the defense is getting these turnovers,
yeah,
and that's a difference in the game. Not to say they're not
yeah,
doing anything else, but those turnovers are kind of helping get the offensive positions to be successful, and they're
yeah,
not necessarily converting those change of possessions into points more than Greg Zerline, and that's a 50-50 shot, we know. So
yeah,
I think the concern is when you play a Kyler Murray like you'll play in a couple of weeks, so you'll play
mhm,
either a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or a Matt Stafford. Can you depend on getting those 3 to 4 turnovers in the game? That's been the difference in, or I guess that's masks what the offense has not been able to do the past 6 weeks or so.
yeah,
Um, so that I think that's a level of concern. I think certainly if they were playing well up until December, if there
mhm,
wasn't the Oakland game, which I think the Oakland game, I'm sorry, Vegas game, they played well in as far as offense, but it was kind of
yeah,
late and it was kind of disjointed and it wasn't throughout the entire game.
yeah. That
Um,
whole second half.
yeah, the whole second half exactly. So I think the concern is even if and I think there may be some validity into what you're mentioning in terms of what blogging the boys mentioned in regards to the conservative approach. And also, you
Yeah,
look at your schedule, you may not want to give everything away, and you probably feel like I'm playing these guys, I'm playing,
again, Washington again.
yeah, I'm playing Washington, I'm playing, New Orleans without a quarterback, I'm playing, the Giants without a quarterback, so I don't have to, use a whole bag of tricks.
Yeah,
But I think it's just an issue of are we sure that they'll just be able to turn it on? Like, all right, now that part's over with. We're back at home now. We got one more home game or two more home games,
yeah,
and then the road game in Philly. Are we sure that that's going to be enough based off what we've seen? Because the concerns I think were prior to this December road trip, but we don't know, right? All this
mhm,
speculation, obviously, and I think we touched on this in the recap video last week that I think there's a lot of noise about Dak as being in the slump, but there's a lot of issues outside of what Dak is doing.
It drops.
Not consistent tackle play because we can't keep guys on the field healthy.
Yeah.
There's inconsistencies in the run game because of injuries, which is part of the game.
Yeah.
And then now we have our wide receiver unit pretty much intact, but they're not on the same page. It seems like Dak, it's not all Dak, obviously. It looks like CD's maybe not throwing the same, running the route correctly. And you see a lot of times where they're at the line of scrimmage and CD's kind of waving his hands around almost like, hey, what am I supposed to run here? And it's like,
yeah.
y'all practicing? Or I know there's, I know McCarthy's mentioned how he does like to do kind of load management approach towards the back half of the year during the week where he has a lot of guys rotating in and out of practice. So the starters may not be practicing together all the time, but you got time after practice, you got time before practice. I think there's elements of that kind of needs to be straightened out because a lot of times it seems like Dak and CD or may not be on the same page necessarily. And I think that needs to be fixed, for that stretch run. I'm not worried about Amari too much. Not really worried about Gallup too much. I think they're fine. But CD, we know about CD having more drops than we would like to see in that Giants game. So that's got to get fixed. The reason why I'm heavy on this offense stuff is because I'm not worried about defense at all. I'm not worried about the defense at all whatsoever. Even with having two defensive tackles out in Oso Digizua and Tristan Hill, you hardly missed them. And the Giants are playing. Their game they were getting the ball out really, really quickly. So there was not a lot of opportunities for pass rush there, but even still, they were getting to the back, and fourth and turnover. So I'm not particularly concerned about the defense. I think, like I said, I think my concern is on the offense and how whether or not they're able to kind of pick things up. They've gotten away with it. And again, there's been discussed. I think it was on G-Bag I heard where there were discussion about are they holding back parts of their playbook because they want to keep it for the playoffs, and they're just kind of playing with abbreviated version of the playbook to get through these games, knowing that they don't want to show too much of what they feel like they can do, and they're saving it for the playoffs. And for me, I'm like, the number one seed is there. I don't want to play around with just doing, let's just do half. Like, we need to go for it. But obviously this game was before the Tampa Bay loss and, the changing where we moved up to 2. But I think now that you're at 2, that whole, let's just kind of play zone and let's see. Nah, bro. Like, we need to go for it.
It's all out the window now.
Right, exactly. Shout out to Rel. He's absolutely right. Never thought I would hear that about the defense. Yeah, it's different.
Exactly. It's different.
They are getting it done, man. Last thing I'll say before I kick it back to you for whatever final thoughts you may have on the game. We are on the number 2 seed right now, and that's virtue of a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
Now, 3-way ties, we have the advantage because we have the better conference record. So a lot of people may look at it and say, well, Tampa beat y'all, so how are y'all how y'all above them, so to say, in the standings, despite having that same record? It's because of the 3-way tie. If that 3-way tie gets broken in any way, shape, or form, we fall back to at least 3. Yeah. So ideal situation is for us to stay at 2, obviously, but there is a lot of moving parts to have to make that happen. And one of the moving parts is the fact that we play Arizona in 2 weeks. Yeah. So one of the teams that we're tied in the second 10-4 with, we play. So obviously at that point, the tie will be broken unless we tie the game, which so based off of that, because of the fact that we play one of the teams that we're tied with, we really can't stay in a 3-way tie, unless the Rams overtake the Cardinals. And at that point, it's possible. So it's a lot of moving parts, but I'll just say, because of how the schedule is laid out, we cannot stay at 2 unless the Cardinals lose their AFC West lead. So if the Rams overtake the Cardinals and it's a 3-way tie between the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the Bucs at the end of the season, we would have the number 2 seed by virtue of having the better conference record in that 3-way tie. It's a lot to take in, but it's important to talk about also because the team that is in the third team in that 3-way tie, the Bucs, as Will mentioned earlier, has a lot of injuries now. They're without a lot of their guys that they may not have the rest of the regular season. So it may not even be a situation where we need a 3-way tie, depending on how that goes for them. Obviously, no one. Well, I won't say no one expected. I'll say no one expected them to not score against the Saints.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a fair assumption. But you never know now. It's kind of wide open, and that's why I said I don't want to hear about, we're only using half of the playbook because we want to say, no, we need to win these games and win these games handily because the way these tiebreakers are set up, it might end up coming down to point differential at some point, and I don't even want to play with squeaking by teams that we should be beating up. So
yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting situation, and it's one that obviously important to keep an eye on. And we will certainly, as the weeks progress, as we close out the season, give you more, I guess, of a detailed look at the standings because they're going to be very fluid throughout the rest of the season. And the losses that Tampa Bay took and Arizona took just made it completely it's wide open now. Where we were talking about last week about probably not moving out any higher than 3 or 4. We're at 2 now. So we just got to keep an eye on that because those things are very important. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. But Will, any final thoughts on this game? Obviously, we'll have to preview the Washington game later on. But any thoughts on this game as we wrap this recap portion of it up?
Dan Quinn is an awesome coordinator. The way that he's gotten creative. I think I'm not sure if we talked about it on here or it was just like pre-show how we would want safeties down playing linebacker and whatnot, and he's been doing that to get 3 safeties around. So and then he loses Tank and he puts Micah in as pass rush. So the creativity is showing, and got to give him his due for being creative, creating the scheme around the players instead of creating or trying to put the players around the scheme. So just that creativity, I think, is what's turned his defense around. And shout out to that for him being able to do that.
Yeah, and I think for folks that may not be aware, the style of defense that Dan Quinn is implementing here is nowhere near what he was famous for.
Yeah, exactly.
What got him on the map and what got him the head coaching job he got in Atlanta, the defensive scheme he was using then is not anywhere near what they're playing now. Back then in Seattle was a cover 3, which is zone, where you have obviously defensive backs are specifically required to guard specific zones in defense, whereas here he's playing almost all man coverage, which is completely different. And you're relying on athleticism of your backs to keep them, not only to keep themselves in front of the wide receiver, but to also do it without getting flagged. As we've seen over the past couple of weeks, it don't take much to get a defensive pass interference. And so I think now it's even more impressive to be able to apply that type of a defense now with how the rules have changed because of the fact that you're not able to really do too much from a defensive standpoint against these wide receivers and tight ends. So for them to be able to do this, or for him to be able to do this, knowing that it's not his cup of tea or what he's known for, to be able to transition into a different scheme and to excel at it is not a normal thing. And if you want evidence of that, look no further than last year with Mike Nolan, and you'll know that it ain't easy. So kudos to Dan Quinn, like you said, and obviously I think he'll be a hot name in the offseason. I just hope he doesn't want that stress of being up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Like, just give yourself a break, bro. You're doing well. Keep that backwards hat in the skybox.
Exactly.
A couple years, man. Enjoy yourself. We got the guys. I don't know if you go somewhere else if that defense is going to have the same guys you got here. Michael Parsons is a dog.
Yeah.
And you know that already, so you're not hearing it from me. But just saying. All right, so that's going to do it for the recap of the Giants game. What we'll do now is make a transition to Week 16. So we got a full slate of games this week. The byes are over, so everybody's playing. And the games are kind of spread out all over the place. Obviously, we also should mention that the way things are going down in terms of COVID, these games may not be where they are right now. So who knows? So obviously we're recording this, as I mentioned, on a Wednesday before the holidays. So this is all contingent upon how things are currently at 7:23 Central Standard Time on a Wednesday.
Let them know.
So just precursor for all of that. And our picks are contingent on folks that are superstars and like primetime players being available during their game. So that's also another asterisk going to put on it. So let's jump into this Week 16 schedule, man. So we will start with Thursday night. We have just one game this week for now. It is the 8-6 San Francisco 49ers visiting the 9-5 Tennessee Titans. Titans obviously took a bad loss in my book last week against the Steelers. Probably should have won that game, with the Steelers being as inconsistent as they have been. Our defense certainly stepped up in that game, turning the ball over a lot, or turning Tennessee over a lot. So obviously got a lot to clean up there, facing the San Francisco team who has been playing a lot better over recent weeks. So I'll kick it over to you, man. Thoughts on this game, and who do you see winning it?
I'm going to take Tennessee because it's a Thursday night game. San Francisco having to travel to the other side of the country. Plus, I do believe Brown is back. I do believe. I think he's off the IR and back. I'm trying to find it, but yeah, I think he's back.
I believe he is back. Yeah.
So AJ Brown. So with him being back, San Fran traveling to the other side of the country. Like I said, Thursday nights is tough for traveling teams or the traveling team quarterback. So I think it's going to be rough for Jimmy. And so, Tennessee will win this one. I think it's going to be a good one, though, because San Fran has, so I had them as the NFC West team to miss out. And right now, they're playing better football than Arizona.
Yeah.
So, I think this, So I think Tennessee is going to end up winning this one.
So kind of on the same, just picking up where you just left off with how well San Francisco's been playing. I feel like the way they play their style of game travels well because they run the ball.
Yeah.
And so I think, if they were kind of like air it out, 300 yards, whatever type of offense where they depend on Jimmy G to be the catalyst of how their offense goes, that may be the case as far as a short week, but I think their style of play actually is conducive in being able to travel on a short week because of how they play. And so I'm picking San Francisco in this one. I feel like they're the better team right now. Obviously, the Titans have gone 3-3 since Derrick Henry right now, so they're trying to figure it out still. Obviously, they tried to get Peterson in, that didn't work. Deontay Foreman's done well, as a replacement for him, but they're still trying to find their identity. And depending on Tannehill to do too much is probably not the best thing. So they're trying to figure it out still in the AFC, which is kind of all over the place. But I'm going to go with San Francisco. I just feel like their game travels well, and I feel like their team is playing better right now. So I'm going to go with San Francisco. We also have a Christmas Day doubleheader, 2 games on Saturday. The first game that is scheduled is the 7-7 Cleveland Browns visiting the 11-3 Green Bay Packers. Depending on how the Amarion variant has hit the NBA, I'll probably be watching NBA and basketball instead of this game because I fully expect for the Packers to take care of business in this one. I think we both agreed in pre-pod that we're going to go with the Packers on this one. So not much to speak on. Cleveland's already been killed with COVID stuff. So at this point, just put them out of the pasture. I'm going with Green Bay, and I think, Will, you are as well.
Yep.
All right. And then the nightcap game for Christmas is going to be the 8-6 Indianapolis Colts visiting the 10-4 Arizona Cardinals. Teams that one might argue are going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
As far as how well the Colts have been playing over recent weeks, obviously they just beat the New England Patriots last Saturday night. And then obviously Arizona coming off of, I think, back-to-back losses, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
They lost, I think, yeah. So back-to-back losses. So two teams going in different directions. Obviously, up until last week, the Cardinals were undefeated on the road. They were 7-0 on the road, and so they don't play well at home in comparison to how they play on the road.
yeah.
So I'm going with Indy in this one. I feel like they got, like I said, they got the momentum. This may be the Cowboy fan in me wanting the Arizona to lose again, but I feel like they're in a position right now, the Colts are, to kind of really position themselves in the AFC. Obviously, they got to make sure they keep Carson Wentz from getting in the way of that happening.
Yeah.
But I feel like the way they're playing right now, they've kind of figured out a recipe to give Jonathan Taylor the ball and get the hell out of the way, and it's worked out. So Arizona obviously kind of having issues, and we know how good Indianapolis' defense is. We saw that against New England. So there is a potential there. Obviously, we know that they'll be without Nuke for the rest of the regular season, so he won't be there. So they're kind of playing shorthanded as well. So assuming that Indianapolis gets through this week without any new cases to their primetime guys that they need that they depend on to get things done, I'm gonna go with Indianapolis in this one. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. Arizona being seeing how they're struggling the past couple of weeks, plus the fact that they don't have Nuke as well. So just a combination of struggle. You don't have your true number one receiver, uh, and I think teams have gotten to the point where they've done a shell coverage, so it makes it hard for AJ Green and Christian Kirk to get downfield to try to blow the top off. And so that's what allows for Connor to get more touches, more runs, more underneath stuff as well. But these defenses have done enough to minimize the damage, while the offenses have been able to put up points. Because Arizona's defense is, early part of the year was really good, but it's gotten to the point where they haven't been able to lean on them as much.
Right.
So with that, they've been giving up a lot of points and been losing because they haven't been able to put up the points as well. So I'm going with the Colts in this one as well. A team that's on the rise, but only thing they can hope for is for Carson Wentz to not throw them out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So far, Taylor has done enough to keep that from happening. So yeah, I'll go with the Colts as well.
One thing I read, I think it was this morning actually, is that the way that teams starting to play Arizona coverage wise is they're forcing Kyler to throw in the middle. They're
Yeah,
kind of taking out the I guess coverage outside the numbers, and there's
because he
been
likes to run
dialogue
out.
about whether or not he's been able to. He has not. His numbers up the middle have not been very, very good, and a lot of that is they're attributed to his height. Whether or not he's able to see well enough over alignment of defenders to see things up the middle, and why
Yeah,
he has to move outside the pocket so much because he's not necessarily to be able to get the best vision throughout the middle. So there's been
yeah,
discussions about teams being more aware of trying to force things between the hash marks or between the
yeah,
numbers, and it's been kind of a struggle for him because he's not able to see as well. Whatever, right? But I think it's
yeah,
worth mentioning that that may be part of the issue too with why he's been struggling lately. Outside of the fact that he obviously just came off of an ankle, but there's been, I guess, more schematic adjustments on the defense to make him pick more routes between the hashes.
yeah,
And so we'll see if that has anything to do with it, or if something that maybe DQ can kind of clue in on, and something that he may be able to use in a couple of weeks against the Cardinals as well. So be something to look out for sure.
yeah.
Um, Next game, well, that's the last of the Christmas game. So we'll move into the Sunday slate. Early slated games on Sunday kicks off with the 4-10 New York Giants visiting the 7-7 Philadelphia Eagles. We both have the Eagles on this one, so we're not going to spend any time on it. Whatever. Next game, the 10-4 LA Rams visiting the 7-7 Minnesota Vikings. Who knows what team is going to show up in Minnesota?
Yeah.
I'm kicking this off to you just in case there's a chant that needs to get, blurted out. If you need to move back to get some
Like
room
this,
to get everything in frame, I'll hand it to you.
Nah, I can't go for this one. And then I like the Vikings, but not for this game. Primarily because we need the Rams to win out. We have for
We
Dallas to have
do.
a chance. For Dallas to have a chance at
We
number
do.
two, Dallas of course has to win out, but the Rams as well. So we can have that buffer as far as the conference tie, or if we tie, at least for a three-way tie,
Three-way
we
tie.
would have to, we would have that conference, the better conference record. So yeah, I want the Rams to win this one just to be able to help us with that because I do believe with Arizona losing, so they'll be out the way. So then the Rams will move up. So we got to keep that three-way tie for that.
Yeah. And for those just joining us, I explained the three-way tie thing about 7 minutes ago. So if whenever this video is over with, you can go back. I want to bore with details. It's kind of long, but I agree. And so this is one of those vote with your heart, not with your head type of things. Because I don't know, like this same Vikings team almost beat the Cardinals, right, at the beginning of the year. So who knows? Obviously, this is a different Rams team. Obviously, they kind of seem to be getting getting their footing together in terms of the adjustment to not only losing Robert Woods but gaining Odell Beckham and how they're able to incorporate him into their offense. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is like on a different planet this year. Just probably the best receiver in the league at this point, like right now. Not saying not saying attribute wise or talent wise, but just what he's bringing to the table each and every week. I feel like he's the best wide receiver in the game at this point. So I'm going with the Rams in this one, but it just depends on what Kirk Cousins shows up. This game is at 12, so they have a chance because it's not a night game. So who knows? But I with you. I'm going to go with the Rams just because we need it, and I think they're hitting their stride, so they should be able to take care of this game pretty. I won't say easily, but they should pull it out.
Yeah.
If they are who they say they are, right? Next game, the 8-6 Buffalo Bills visiting the 9-5 New England Patriots. We talked about this. Seems like every week for the past month or so about this chase as far as the AFC East is concerned. Now this is kind of like the game we talked about that we've been kind of waiting for to see how Buffalo responds to the fact that they let New England come into their house, eat all their food, and win that game. So a lot on the line this one, obviously, especially now that New England has lost last week and kind of gives Buffalo that new life, so to speak, to kind of get back into at least a tie for the division lead. So thoughts on this game, man? Who do you got ultimately winning this one? Because this one might be one of the couple games of the week.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo in this one. I think they got hit in the mouth back-to-back weeks between New England and then Tampa. So I think at this point they know what they have to do to be able to make the playoffs. Like there's a chance that they can miss the playoffs if they lose this. Right. So I think they know that. So I think they're going to come out and actually put up a good game, and I think they'll end up winning. Plus, New England, I mean, it's hard to say it now after that long winning streak, but there was a point in time where they did struggle at home. They righted the ship, but still, the struggle has been there, which is unique for when it comes to that team. So, I'm taking Buffalo. I think that I hate choosing them because it's been a struggle this year, but I'm going to take them one more time. And we'll see how it works out.
To kind of, I guess, echo or underscore what you're mentioning, like we said at the beginning of this, the Bills are 8-6. Yeah. There are 5 teams in the AFC that are 8-6.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, the Colts, the Chargers, the Bills, the Ravens. They're all 8-6. They can't all make the playoffs. So you essentially have 5 teams fighting for 3 spots.
Yeah.
And so this has to be, and just like you talked about how they have a legitimate chance to not make the playoffs. because of the fact there's such a log jam with those 8-6 teams, and then there's 4, 7-7 teams right below that.
Yeah.
And there's a 7-6-1 Pittsburgh team. So you're looking at 10 teams that are separated by a game. Like there's no room for error right now at this point, at least particularly in the AFC, especially in that division. And so Buffalo's definitely had their back against the wall for sure in this one, and we want to see what they're made of, because if we say this every week, it seems like if you want to be that team, these are one of the games you got to win. So I'll go with Buffalo in this one as well, because obviously we didn't really see Buffalo in that game. They played a couple weeks ago with all the snow against New England, so we really have not seen them match up with them really. And also, I think Buffalo's defense is kind of got a chip on their shoulder because of how things were addressed, or how things were, I guess, mentioned in the media with their performance, or giving us so many rushing yards, which you talked about a couple weeks ago, was really just one big chunk play that just made it inflated. But I think those defenders definitely have a chip on their shoulder based off of their perception has been given from the media about how they let them run over them. So they got something to play for sure. So it should be a great game. I don't know if it's going to be in Dallas regionally. I hope it is. I would love to be able to see that one on CBS.
Exactly.
But yeah, we'll. I think I'm going to go with the Bills and Massachusetts because they need it. Now I will say this: I'm going to put y'all on this.
Fun.
Sunday will be very fun. I'm putting them on notice right now. I'm about to be like Detroit with y'all. Just saying. Like y'all gotta do something.
Detroit.
Come on,
Detroit.
About Detroit, y'all. Now Detroit, since I said they won 2 games, so maybe it's a good thing. So, but y'all about to beat Detroit in a minute. Y'all can't, step up when you're supposed to. So, Buffalo for me as well. Next game is the 10-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the 5-9 Carolina Panthers. I think we both agree Tampa will win this game. I just think it's interesting to point out that Tampa hasn't scored a point in 2 weeks. And on top of that, I think it's interesting just kind of thing to look at with the fact that obviously this will be their first game without I believe Mike. I don't know if Mike has been rolled out yet. I'm not sure. But for sure, Godwin's been out. Godwin has been ruled out, and Leonard Fournette has been ruled out. I think Mike Evans is probably going to be a game-time decision, but you're down at least 2 starters. I think Antonio Brown is able to be back this week, so you may have him ready to go. But obviously not the same team that they anticipated being able to try out there in this game. And I think it's also interesting to point out that this is the first time Stephon Gilmore will be playing against Tom Brady. So just saying, I mean, they'll win, but, it could be interesting. Could be interesting. If they lose that game, might do an emergency pod. So yeah, I think we both picked Tampa Bay to pull out of that one, but you never know. Next game, nobody cares, but it's the 2-12 Jacksonville Jaguars against the 3-11 New York Jets. I think we predicted an offensive firestorm from the Jaguars last week. That did not happen. So I don't even know. I don't even care. Thoughts? Who are you picking in this one?
For whoever watches the game to lose.
That's my stuff. there may actually be fans of the Jaguars and the Jets.
Yeah,
might be.
They're the ones who lose. They don't deserve that. Well,
yeah,
probably the Jets, but not the Jaguars.
Yeah, I forgot to put the Jaguars on my list too, didn't I? They're on my list too, so yeah, I have to pick the Jets.
I picked the Jets too.
I'm not going back on my word. This is who cares. Next game, the 2-11-1 Detroit Lions. Speaking of people who I'll never pick again, going up against the 6-8 Atlanta Falcons. You obviously already know my picks, so I will toss this one over to you.
It's Detroit is funny. After we dogged them last week, we was like, "Yo, they're not showing up. They don't know." Speaking of a team that doesn't like to win, and these dudes come out and ball
Beat the brakes off of everybody.
breaks. It's insane. Did not expect it at all. With that, I'm taking Atlanta. So
All that being said, y'all about to lose this game again.
exactly, Atlanta about to put it on them.
Yeah, I think that was their Super Bowl last week,
Oh
which
yeah,
came out
yeah.
of nowhere. By the way, like I mean, maybe
Yeah.
they just felt like, hey, you know, underdog story. No one's gonna pick us, which no one's picked y'all all year except for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this all of a sudden was one of those games. But I'm appreciative because now we're a 2 seed because of it. So thank you very much for
Yep.
that. Yeah, you know who I'm picking.
Yeah.
To make it official, I'm going with Atlanta, just because I'm a man of my word. Um, Next game, the 8-6 LA Chargers visiting 3-11 Houston Texans. We fully anticipate this to be a win for the Chargers. So we're not going to spend any time in this one, so we'll move on to the next game, which is another potential game of the week. The 8-6 Baltimore Ravens visiting the 8-6 Cincinnati Bengals. Two teams we don't really know how to classify them. Yeah, roller coaster. Two teams in that pack of 5, 8-6 AFC teams.
Yeah.
The Ravens are now all of a sudden not atop of the division now,
Not in the
because of the
playoffs.
losses that they've had, but Cincinnati is. So, this could be a game that goes far from that perspective in terms of seeding and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know who to pick in this game because I don't know who's playing in this game.
That part.
I think that Lamar has not practiced this week,
And no.
but they obviously feel like he's progressed from last week, so the possibility is there. I also want to shout out Tyler Huntley. Like, he played really well against Green Bay. Quick aside, while I think of a pick, would you have gone for 2? Did you agree with that call, or would you kick the field goal tie game?
So I want to shout out Kavanaugh. I would have did it the way that he said. I would have flipped it. I would have went for 2 early on that first touchdown. So then, if you make it or not, you still had the option to do whatever the second time around. So yeah, that's what I would have did. Went for it 2 first time, get it or not. Then it would give me my decision to for the second touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. Based on how that game went,
Yeah.
being down 14 and all of a sudden, getting back into it, I agree that would have been a smart move once you make that first score cut. So a one possession game, make the call, because I think that's the general, I guess, analytic perspective is if you're down 2 touchdowns and you scored the first touchdown, go for 2 then, so that you know what you need to do for the next possession. Because if you get it then, you can potentially kick an extra point to win the game the next time you score. Or if you don't get it, I got to go for 2 again to tie.
Yeah.
So it gives you the options. Whereas the way they did it, you didn't really – well, I mean, you had an option, but the option was, do I tie the game or do I go for the win? I think in that situation, they kind of got – momentum got the best of them, and they kind of felt like, hey, we're already, we weren't supposed to be here, so let's try and steal this win. But I'm just trying to think, because I agree with you and Jeff. But I'm just thinking, that was not the scenario that they had in front of them.
Yeah.
At that
time. I would have with the tie if it was just with that scenario. I
think so too.
I would have just went with the tie. I just because it's a 50-50 chance that you get the ball, like to go into overtime. I would take that the opportunity to get the tie, get the dub, have an opportunity at the dub. Especially like with that loss, you're outside of the playoff. So I would have went with the tie and go try to win it in overtime.
I agree, man. You never know how the coin flip's going to go.
Yep.
Defense have the momentum,
Exactly. Defense is playing well to get them back in the game.
Exactly. So because I think to both of you and JC's point, I completely agree. I would have done that. presented with the scenario that actually took place, I would have kicked the field goal. But I get it. But even for them, like even for Baltimore, like you just got burned with this 2 weeks ago. So like I don't know. I guess I don't know. Anyways, I should have had a pick now after all that time I just dodged. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Only because I am having trust issues with the Bengals. Obviously, they won last week, but I think last week with Teddy Bridgewater getting hurt in that game, it was kind of the era of the game for the Broncos. And that game, it wasn't no convincing win. Like, it was not a good win. I mean, they won, so it's a win. But it wasn't like, all right, they flexed their muscles, they got a roll win, like whatever. So I'm going with the Ravens in this one. What about you?
I'm going with Cincinnati. Joey.
Joey B?
Yeah. I like this dude.
I like him too. Him too. I think we'll see.
Yeah. I get it. It's a team that has to learn how to win. So
yes, I agree. Yeah. And this is an opportunity to do that. Like if you want it, like especially if Lamar is out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
you have to win.
You have to win that game. Because if you don't, then you just look. I don't know. And like we talked about, there's that log jam at 8-6. Like you gotta try to separate yourself. And I think this is an opportunity to do that. And I don't know. It's hard for me in these type of games. It's hard for me to count on Harbaugh, particularly because of what's at stake. And I think there's potential for him being in those moments and being used to that kind of pressure, and potentially Zach Taylor and Joey B and those guys not being used to that type of pressure. You know, you could see the difference in that. But it should be a good game. So if the Bills Patriots game is not on CBS, I hope that this one is, because I would love for it to be one of those two for sure. So that wraps up the early slate of games. Start off the late afternoon games with the 4-10 Chicago Bears visiting 5-9 Seattle Seahawks. I don't know. Seahawks, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. I'm gonna go with Seattle. Did you watch the Bears game?
I did not watch that game. No.
They were foolish, man. Like, I understand that the referees were making calls, but a lot of those calls they did bring on themselves as well. A lot of personal fouls, and it was a lot of stupid plays made after plays, because like it was starting to remind me of the Minnesota game. Like Chicago was right there to where they had an opportunity to get into the game to basically get the ball back and do stuff, and boom, a unsportsmanlike personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards, and it was like a 3rd and 17. It was like
wow.
So one was like a 3rd and it was a 3rd and long that they was about to get them off the field. So this is the same drive. So it was a 3rd and long. They were about to get them off the field. They got a penalty. It was a 4th and 3. They had just stopped them. It got a penalty to continue, and boom, end up giving up. And it was a couple more on that drive, and they ended up giving up a touchdown afterwards. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is why y'all have the record that you do, is because y'all don't know how to act right. So
and the coach is trash.
Yeah, that part as well.
He's super trash. I don't know he got pictures on somebody or what, because the fact that he's still there is very interesting. Just a quick question from me. Is it time to blow up the Seahawks? Where are we at with this? Because you've given up all your picks now to the Jets for a guy who is now on IR, and Jamal, and it don't look good. So is it time to blow up Shuate for the Seahawks? It's time?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely, I would. So
I hate this, and I don't know how they're going to afford it, because I don't think they have the space. But Rush should go to New Orleans. Shit.
Yeah,
I don't know how they work that out because I don't think they have the money for it. But if they can figure that out,
yeah,
if I have to give up, if I'm New Orleans, I have to give up like 5 first. I'd do it because
yeah,
that team is already built to win. They just need a
yeah,
quarterback, so you don't have to worry about those picks. So they want 5. I'll give them 5 because
exactly.
you now are equal pegging with the Bucks. I don't care what anybody says because Tom Brady can't beat that defense, and you've
Exactly.
already got a revamped offense that's actually better now. If you can get
Boom.
Michael Thomas to actually come play football for you guys again
Yeah.
with Alvin Kamara, and maybe get another guy, another wide receiver who maybe says, "I'm not winning where I'm at. Let me go try and find someone to win," kind of like what AJ Green did in
Yeah.
Arizona. Like if you can get somebody like that, hell, I mean, I don't.
That'd be
I'm not gonna put
nice.
that out in the universe, but yeah, they can get. You know, if they got Russie, that's a different ballgame. That division,
Exactly. That would be nice.
I would love that. But they're broke.
Yeah.
So just wanted to get that. I hadn't had a chance to ask you about that, so I snuck that in. Sorry about that. But next game is the 7-6-1 Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the 10-4 Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs obviously arguably the hottest team in football right now based on how they're playing.
Second hottest, Miami.
Behind, all right. I mean, by the numbers, you're right, but um, so Green Bay. I'm sorry, you threw me off. Steelers against the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs, shockingly, but it's not one of those Fox picks to me because the way the Pittsburgh Steelers defense played last week, there's, I guess, there's room for pause. Not
Yeah.
like shut them down, but if you like, I think there's a chance in this game. Obviously, it's on the road, so that's tough. And you're depending on Roethlisberger to actually like be productive, so that's also 2 strikes against you.
Yeah.
But I think there's a possibility that they could be in this game, but I think it's just too much Chiefs. Obviously, it's different now because uh, Travis Kelce has COVID,
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill has COVID, Harrison Butker has COVID. Harrison is not vaccinated, so he's already going to be out. He cannot test back in. So I think there's still potential for Kelsey and for Tyreek to play. But if they don't play, I still pick Chiefs to win that game because I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm going with the Chiefs, but I think it's important to mention that they could be without their top 2 receivers and potentially some defenders as well.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that game?
Going Kansas City as well. Kansas City. One thing that somebody had pointed out, it was like Dallas and Kansas City's the way that they're playing is just like a 4 or 5 game difference. Kansas City was struggling early on with the Mahomes was being able to see the new coverage, and then now the defense has took over and win them games, and that's what's happening with Dallas. Defense took over and win them games. So I think that's what's going to happen with this one. I think the defense. I think Kansas City's defense is what's going to win this game. They've been playing really well. I've been keeping teams below 21 points, below 14 points, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be enough for them to be able to get this win, especially with so much talent missing on the offensive side for Kansas City.
I agree. 7-7 Denver Broncos visiting the 7-7 Las Vegas Raiders in the Nobody Cares Bowl, but they're both 7-7, so they kind of have an outside chance. So there's still hope for them. Raiders sneak by a depleted Cleveland Browns team a couple of nights ago. And of course, as we mentioned, Denver lost to the Bengals. Not sure of Teddy Bridgewater's status, but I'm expecting.
I heard he was at the hospital. I did hear that.
Yeah. Right. I'm anticipating that he won't play.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that gives you Drew Lock, and I like Drew Lock. He likes Young Jeezy, so hey, good for you.
Coach said he's starting.
Oh well, yeah. I'm not picking. I'm going with the Raiders. Then. Thank you for that. I'm going with the Raiders. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Raiders as well. Uh, my bad, Raiders fans, because I didn't expect them to win another game for the rest of the season after they played us. It's like because they played us very well. Had the refs on the side, so I thought they just hey, we won that one. We won it on national stage. Hey, we can go ahead and
We good
chill.
now.
Yeah, and they came out actually. Yeah, Cleveland was depleted, but Cleveland's been up and down all season as well. So yeah,
Shout out to
yeah,
Two Gloves, man. Hope you're feeling better, man.
yeah, man.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I already picked them. So next game is the main event of the evening, Sunday Night Football. The 6-8 Washington football team in their heated seats will be visiting the 10-4 Dallas Cowboys,
80-degree
who
dome.
in a 75-degree dome. It's probably cooler than that.
Yeah.
Real quick before we talk about the game, just something I just saw come across the press is
Yeah.
Pro Bowl selections
Ooh.
for the Cowboys. We
Okay.
have. Oh, don't look. I'm
Okay. I'm
I'll
not
quiz you
looking.
real
I'm
quick.
not looking. All right.
How many do you think? How many Pro Bowls do you think the Cowboys got this year? I'll give you a second. No, you don't have to be quick. You don't have to be a quick answer.
I say 5.
It's 5 on the nose.
Yeah.
Now, pick the 5.
All right. So the 5 that I was thinking, it was Trayvon, Micah, Randy, uh, Zach Martin, and the 5th one, he's missed some time, but I would think Tyron just because of who he is off of name.
So you got 4 out of 5.
So is that
No Dak. So
Schultz
no
or the
Schultz.
punter?
So
The punter?
I'll that there you go.
Yeah, okay. I forgot about the punter.
And
Oh
he's
yeah, he's
earned
great.
it. He's earned it.
Yeah, he has.
He has earned it.
Yeah.
But yes, that is exactly right. So the 5 Pro Bowlers: Michael Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Brian Anger. They all earned it. Tyron,
Yeah.
I think this is like a legacy pick probably because
Yeah.
people just know what he brings to the table. But Brian Anger, let me tell you something.
He said Zach, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael
so
Parsons,
Randy.
Trevon Diggs, Zach Martin, Tyron, Brian Anger.
Okay, so Randy didn't make it. Okay.
Randy didn't make it. He will though. I think.
Yeah. Actually, that might have kept his price tag down a little bit.
Hello. Thank you. So yeah, we have not talked about.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about him enough. That dude absolutely earned it.
Weapon.
Oh my god!
Absolute weapon. Yeah.
Considering what we have from Chris Jones for the past seemed like decade, just being very very mid.
Yeah.
I'm super happy to see that he got that accolade. He deserves it 100%. So shout out to Michael Parsons, shout out to Trayvon Diggs, Zach Martin, the president. We already know what time it is. Tyron Smith as well. So super happy for Brian Anger, super happy for Michael and Trayvon. They deserve it. I'm obviously a lot of people were hurt this year, so it was kind of tough. Like you see like your DeMarcus Lawrence's and those guys, but he played 3 games this year, I think. So
basically
tough call, but yeah, I love it. I'm happy for all those guys, and I'm also happy that guys like I don't want to sound negative, but I'm glad it's a defense getting the love.
Yeah,
and not just seeing Zeke and Dak and Amari all night. Like it, I think the way it is where it needs to be. Tyron just gets in just off of his name, but the rest of the guys earned it 100%. So shout out to y'all. Congratulations on those picks. Go ahead.
Seeing how bad the left side is without him at times, he definitely deserves it.
Look, I'll go so far as say Tyron's an MVP candidate just because what heavily he's not there. But so Pro Bowl, that's exciting, man. Hopefully they won't be able to play in it because they'll be getting ready for Super Bowl, but we'll see. So as actually back to our regular schedule program, I just saw that come across and I was like, we gotta talk about it while we're on. as I mentioned earlier, 6-8 Washington football team against the 10-4 Cowboys. I'm handing it over to you. Thoughts, predictions, keys. Floor is yours.
Do believe Dallas going to win this one. Dallas know what is in front of them. The number one seed is obtainable with a little help, of course, but also they have to do their part in winning. They got to win out, and it starts Sunday night. So I think Dallas will come out and put it on Washington. Dak loves Sunday night. Trayvon, Micah. Well, Micah's going to have a hell of a game. Like this one, yeah, I'm calling it. I think this is where he, like we've seen him as far as make plays, as far as there will be a combination of defensive rookie of the year and then also attempts for defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. I think this game will put him as a top 2 favorite, not just like just on the outside of Garrett and TJ Watt. I think this will be the game. He's going to show out. Like this is, oh man, it's going to be crazy. Yeah, I'm taking Dallas in this one. I think the defense is going to show up and show out. I think Dak is going to pull the offense through. I think they're going to. They know what they have to do to be able to maintain, and also this is an opportunity to win a division as well.
Yeah.
When the division is yours, you have a playoff berth, and now it's you can officially set your eyes on seeding at that point. So I'm taking Dallas this one. I don't expect Tyree, so it'll be a little bit tough with Sweat, but I don't think that will keep Dallas from winning this game.
Yeah. Shocker, but I'm picking the Cowboys. 2 weeks ago when we played them, I said, "Hey, we're gonna beat the shit out of them," and they and they did kind of.
Yeah.
At first, they let the foot off the gas. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're gonna beat the shit out of them in this game too.
I think so too. This one, I think it's gonna. They're gonna shut up a lot of people.
I think that's true. I agree. I think this is tailor-made for one of those games to be like, all right, Sunday Night Football, center stage, everybody's watching us the day after Christmas, like only show in town on TV. We about to show y'all what time it is. Yeah. And I think this is the perfect team to do that against because they're going to gas themselves up so much they're going to get out of this game pretty early, I feel like. Yeah. For those that don't know, like the Cowboys, when they visited the football team a couple of weeks ago, had these heated seats they purchased to get to the game because Washington Stadium is known for their visiting benches not to work when the cold weather is, when it's cold weather months. So they're being proactive and they purchased these seats through a company in Ohio, that shipped them to the game. Yeah. The Cowboys did not know when they made the purchase that this company was going to decorate the benches. They put the Cowboys star in there, big logo, whatever. Yeah. So now that they did that, Washington felt all offended and all this other stuff. And I guess Washington was so offended by this, they did it themselves. They bought their own benches where it looked like the same ones, so probably the same company. So the company probably got like hella promotion now. So shout out to them. And now the Washington team has the same benches, but with a big ass W on there for Washington because they don't have a mascot and the same football team colors. So they said they're going to be they used them against the Eagles, which didn't work because they still lost, and they're going to use them for some reason in AT&T Stadium, which is a climate-controlled dome. Yeah. So cool, whatever. If y'all just want to give money away, like I got bills. Exactly. I know Will got bills. We got a newborn. Like we can. Exactly. Anyway, shout out Jack. as far as keys to the game, I think the same thing for the most part as what we've looked at for the past few weeks is, do we get to see that offense work through whatever it is they're working through and be more consistent? I think, like I said before, the defense we're not necessarily concerned with, so we feel good about what they're able to do, particularly against. We saw Taylor Heineke seeing ghosts, to seem like, against us a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And interesting part about this, though, with Washington is that they played on Tuesday. So this is kind of a short week for them. And they were already without their top two quarterbacks because of COVID. So I don't know about the vaccination status of their two quarterbacks, but depending on timing as far as a quick turnaround from Tuesday to Sunday, they may not have their full complement of guys as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Not like it matters, but, it could be something that, could be interesting leading up to it because I like Garrett Gilbert. I think you liked Garrett Gilbert here. I mean, so he's not trash. He almost beat an undefeated Steelers team last year. Right? Yeah, correct. So he's got talent. It's just a matter of being consistent. But I don't care. Whoever they play, whoever they bring in, Heineke, Brandon Allen, whoever. If Ryan Fitzpatrick all of a sudden is healthy to play, whoever, it don't matter. I don't think. I think
they can all get this business.
They can all get all of it. So going with the Cowboys in this one. Feel confident in that. Feel confident.
Also, you might want to set your schedule. I think they're going to have Cowboys Eagles for Sunday Night Football to close out the season.
Flex
usual.
Man.
Yeah, it's going to be per usual because that one. If both of them win this week and next week, that's going to be Go ahead, throw them in. They know it's going to draw the biggest, the most eyes on there. Dallas has a chance to basically keep Philly out the playoffs. Philly has a chance to keep Dallas from getting the number 1 seed. That's going to be your show. That's going to be the show. Yeah,
I agree.
And it's going to be in Philly too. It's going to be nasty.
Never know about the weather.
Exactly. I hate Sunday night Philly games. I hate it.
And this is why, after hearing you out, I agree with you. But this is why at first I was saying, do I need to play? But I get what your argument is that we need especially Dak needs to keep, he don't need no more buys. Like
exactly.
Exactly. So we'll see how that goes. But you're probably right. We'll probably announce that next week that they flexed that game. Yeah. Because this game I was about to say the R word. This Washington football team game was flexed into Sunday night. Was not originally scheduled for Sunday night, but they flexed a couple of weeks ahead. So I'm sure we may probably by Sunday hear that they're flexing this game or that last game into Sunday night based off of whatever happens this week. I'm sure if both teams win this week, which they should both win this week, we'll probably get that announcement from the NFL probably on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football game, I cannot imagine ratings being any good for this game. And I completely understand why
outside of Florida and
Louisiana. That's it. Because Eli was probably like, hell no, I'm not doing that game. 7-7, the hottest team in the league, as Will has coined them. The 7-7 Miami Dolphins visiting the 7-7 New Orleans Saints. Saints coming off of one of the bigger wins this season, beating Tampa Bay, shutting them out last Sunday night, I believe it was.
Appreciate
that. And Miami coming off of a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah.
First team in NFL history go from 1-7 to 7-7. So every time they win, I'll be able to say the first time in history they went from 1-7 to whatever their record is. So I got Miami win this game. Just because it seems like that the Saints can get up for the Bucks, but not much for anybody else. Especially having Taysom Hill as a quarterback, which I don't know why they don't just put Trevor Siemian in. I mean, he can't be that much worse in my eyes. So I'm going to Miami in this one. What about you?
Going with Miami as well. I do want to make a correction. You were right. Kansas City is the hottest team. They've won 7. and Miami's only at 6. So yeah,
Okay.
you're right. Yeah.
Okay. But both
My
if
bad.
they're both 7, who's the highest? Who you picking as the highest? Miami?
Yeah.
If they were both 7, it's
Yeah,
Miami.
I still say Miami.
So
Because
you
I
might be
mean,
able to say
because
that.
like you, for expectations, we would expect Kansas City to do
True.
what they're doing,
True.
the long winning streak. For Miami, like they have a lot of stuff going for them to be able to do this. So that's
True.
why I would go with them being the hottest.
True story.
All right.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for our
Yeah.
Week 16 predictions. A little bit longer video this time. We appreciate you guys hanging in. We had a lot to cover, so we appreciate you hanging in. Guys, as always, like we say at the end of every video, we're on Instagram, _production. We're on TikTok, the ticker.
The tickety-tock.
TikTok. _sports. We are on right now. What you should be watching us on YouTube at GlowSun Sports. We are also on the Twitch at GlowSun_productions. We're trying, like I said, we're trying to expand our base, guys. We appreciate you guys following us. We appreciate the love. Also, quick programming note: we don't know when you'll see us again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, will.
Zoom.
But I do believe Rel and King will be doing math talk tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And then tomorrow there will be Glows on Nerd. Yeah, so we'll be doing Hawkeye. The finale came out today, and then also doing Spider-Man spoilers. It's been a week now. And they've been adding shows, so we will be doing talk on that as well.
It's his way of saying you had time to go watch it. So if you ain't watched it yet, that's on you.
Yeah. I might throw in some Matrix in there. I'm gonna have to see about if Rel and Cameron has watched Matrix yet. But I will be. We might throw in some Matrix too because it dropped today as well.
Today,
yeah, today's been an awesome one. So we're gonna see about that. We might be like, oh, it was good as whatever. Might not do spoilers with it, but might end up mentioning. So yeah, tomorrow's gonna be lit. So we have Mavs talk tonight, right after us. And then we have Nerd Talk tomorrow. GlowSun Nerd.
So if you guys subscribe to GlowSun Sports, and you subscribe to GlowSun Geek, and you subscribe to For Your Ambition on YouTube, you will know when we're about to live stream. Also, if you follow us on Twitch, you will also have a schedule there. You'll be able to see when we are broadcasting. And now we've fixed the profile to where you'll be able to watch those videos on demand. If you missed the live show. So look out for that as well. But to Will's point, guys, come back in a couple of hours. You'll see King and Rel on here discussing the Mavs stuff. God bless me. I got a lot to talk about. Charlie Brown and all those other guys that are on the team. But again, we'll let you guys know when we will be on next week. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. We certainly wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And for Will, I am Jay, and we are